What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video, and today I've got my friend's Fire Fist deck profile. He has a Twitch. I am going to leave a link to it down in the description below. So if you could please go and give him a follow, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and help me get to 100 subs. We're right there, 9 away. Also, stick to the end to find out something that's getting set up right quick. And let's get into the deck profile. So, starting us off with the monsters, we have 3 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Elefante. Elephant. He has the effect whenever he is normal or specialed, you can send a face-up fire formation from your field to the graveyard to summon another Fire Fist monster from your hand. So that's pretty good. And then you can target a fire formation, spell a trap card in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and then you add a level 5 or higher Fire Fist monster from your deck to your hand. So what you can do is normal him, or you can tanky search and then summon Ram, and then Ram gets to set a fire formation from the deck, and then you shuffle him, or shuffle the tanky from the graveyard back into the deck for his effect to search a level 5 or higher. And one of the level 5 or higher you can search, which is our only other 3 of in the deck, is Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Eland, the Ritual. This guy's actually pretty good. He has a his effect is you can discard 1 monster to set 1 fire formation, spell, or trap directly from your deck or graveyard. And then when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can quick effect discard you can send 1 face-up Fire Fist or fire formation card you control to the graveyard, except himself, to negate that effect. So it doesn't negate and destroy, but it does negate. So it's pretty nice to have a, negation for just sending a fire formation from your field or from your hand to the graveyard. And those are the only 3 of monsters in the deck. We're going to get into the rest of the monsters. We've got 2 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Rooster. Rooster has the effect that whenever it is special summoned by the effect of a Fire Fist monster, you can add a Fire Fist monster from your deck to your hand. Pretty nice. Then it also, that first effect is a hard once per turn. The second effect, which is you can once per turn send 1 face-up fire formation, spell, or trap card you control to the graveyard to set a fire formation from your deck. That is not a hard once per turn, because the hard once per turn clause is actually before that clause, and it refers to the first effect. So if you can cycle through your roosters multiple times in a turn, you can essentially get a bunch of fire formations on your board for essentially free. Next up, we have 2 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Ram. Ram has the effect that whenever it's normal or special summoned, you can discard a card, then target a fire formation, spell, or trap card you control, and set 1 with a different name directly from your deck. And then if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Fire Fist monster, you can set a fire formation directly from the deck. And then both of his effects are hard once per turn. And then we have 2 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Spirit. It can't be used for a synchro material except for the synchro summon of a Fire Fist monster, which isn't bad. And whenever it's normal summon, it can summon another one from graveyard, a level 3 fire with 200 or less defense from the graveyard. specifically a level 3 fire with 200 or less defense from your graveyard. And then it locks you into only being able to attack with Beast Warriors for the rest of the turn, which isn't that bad. And into the one of Fire Fist monsters we go. Starting us off in the one-ofs with the Fire Fist monsters, we have the 1 copy of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Panda. He has the effect that if a fire formation spell or trap card is activated after it resolves, you can special summon it from the hand, and then you can special summon a Fire Fist monster from your graveyard, except himself, yes. And then for the rest of the turn, you can only summon Fire Fist monsters. And then he has a Return of the Dragon Lords effect, where if any of your Fire Fist monster or monsters would be destroyed, you can send a face-up fire formation from your field to the graveyard. He's kind of just a one-of because you can search him pretty easily in the deck. So it's not that bad running him at 1. Next up, we have 1 Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Dragon. He's your Monster Reborn. That is a soft once per turn. He's not bad at all. This card actually used to be kind of expensive too. I remember that for a little bit. Then we have your 1 copy each of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Gorilla and Bear, I believe. Yes. Let's see. When Bear inflicts battle damage, you can set a fire formation spell directly from your deck. And then he can send a fire formation or a face-up fire formation spell or trap card you control to the graveyard to target and destroy a monster. And then when this card destroys a monster by battle, you can set a fire formation spell directly from the deck, and then he's spell and trap removal. So not bad. And then lastly, we have our Garnet Buffalo. The reason why I call him a Garnet is because you want to Foolish Burial him to the graveyard with the link to Eagle. You want to Foolish Buffalo to the graveyard with Eagle from the deck. So if you see this card in your hand, it's a kind of dead card at that point. So yeah. And then for the generic monsters that are in the deck, we have 2 copies of Coach Soldier Wolfbark. He is another Monster Reborn like effect. He summons a level 4 level 4 Fire Beast Warrior from your graveyard in defense position, and then its effects are negated. Yeah, it's pretty good in this deck. It just sucks that it's specifically a level 4 Fire Beast Warrior. That has to be summoned. Because, man, this thing could do some shenanigans stuff. And then we have our 1 copy of Red Resonator. This card, whenever it's normal summon, you can special summon a monster another monster from your hand, a level 4 or lower from your hand. And then if it's special summon, you can target a monster on the field and gain life points equal to that monster's life points. Red Resonator can actually trigger the first effect on Elephant. Because what you can do is you can normal summon this, special summon Elephant, activate Elephant to send a fire formation from your field to the graveyard. Which then gets you another monster out of your hand, which puts 3 monsters on your board. Super fast, super easy. That is it for the monsters. Now we're going to move into the spells and then the traps. So starting us off, we have 3 copies of Fire Formation Domei. This is your ritual spell. And then it also floats whenever it leaves the spell and trap zone. Whenever Domei leaves the spell and trap zone, you can target a Fire Fist in your graveyard, essentially, and special summon it. Then we have 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. Everybody knows how Tenki do. It searches Beast Warriors and is used in Zoo. It's not fun. I'm just kidding. This card is great. So yeah. And those are surprisingly the only 3 of Fire Formation spells in the deck. But there is good reason for that. Next up, we have 2 copies of Fire Fortress atop Liang Peak. This card is actually a Fire Formation card. It is treated as a Fire Formation card. And then it's kind of like a 6-SAM card, but for Fire Fists. It gains counters, and at 2 counters, you can make it to where your Beast Warriors gain a Armades effect. At 6 counters, you can Rhoda for any of your Beast Warrior monsters. Right. Yeah, 1 Beast Warrior monster from your deck to your hand. And then 10 gives you a, what's that one trap card called? Awakening of the Dragon or something like that. Where you can summon a monster from your deck or extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions. I know that's not exactly what the trap card does, but it can summon a monster from your extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions. So, yeah. Then we have 2 copies of Ingen. I actually changed this from how my friend was running it. He was only running 1 of the fusion, and then I noticed he had 2 open slots in the extra deck. I don't know what was supposed to go in those 2 slots, but I filled 1 with a 3rd copy of Eagle and 1 with a 2nd copy of Swan. We'll get there in a minute. Next, we have 2 copies of Tensu, which is your additional normal summon for the turn, and that is it for the Fire Formation spells and traps. Next up, for the generic spells, we have 2 copies of Circle of the Fire Kings. Target a fire monster, destroy it, special summon another fire monster from your graveyard. Pretty simple. And then we have 1 copy of Onslaught of the Fire King. If you're going second, this card is great. If you're going first, not so much. This would probably be better as a side deck option at 3. But if it's basically like if your opponent has a monster, you can summon anything from your deck that is a Fire Beast Warrior. Except for the fact that its effects are negated and it dies on the end phase. But that doesn't matter. You get a free monster out of your deck. That is it for these spells. Moving on to the traps, we have 3 copies of Ultimate Fire Formation Sinto, because this card is searchable in the deck for 1, and 2, it's a negate that is searchable, and it's a counter trap that is searchable, which is pretty good. It only negates spells and traps, but it does its job, especially since it's not a once per turn. And then we have 1 copy of Ultimate Fire Formation Saito. This one, there's a reason why it's 1 of, because you have to banish 7 Fire Formation spell and trap cards from your graveyard, and then you summon as many Fire Fist monsters as possible from your graveyard. Then you can set Fire Formation spells and traps directly from the deck, except this card, up to the number of monsters special summoned by this effect. And then we have 1 copy of Tencent. Hang on, I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. The cats were getting into something or other. Tencent.
When you activate it, it's a rush recklessly, boosts your monster or your monster by 700, and then it has a continuous effect to give all your stuff. Oh, excuse me, 300 attack boost. I forgot to mention that Tenki and Tensu both give a 100 attack point boost while they're on the field. Yeah, that is it for the main deck. That is a 40 card main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. Starting us off in the extra deck, we have 3 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King. This man's is before hard once per turn clauses because he doesn't have one. He has an on summon effect to set a fire formation spell/trap directly from the deck. And then he has a detach effect to essentially skill drain anything that isn't a Beast Warrior. That's already on the field, sadly. But yeah. And we have, but he's non once per turn grab a fire formation from the deck. So if you summon him multiple times in a turn, XD summon him multiple times in a turn. Yeah. We have 1 Cardinal. This card can actually recycle your cards from the graveyard, and it also shuffles cards from your opponent's field or graveyard back into the deck. So if you're playing against a graveyard heavy deck, like if you're playing against a deck that has like really high demand for a field spell or for anything really that's like in the graveyard, or they have like a couple of control pieces on the board, this card is actually very helpful. It does target, but it shuffles stuff back into the deck, which is not bad removal at all. And we have the 1 copy of Lion Emperor. I actually summon Lion Emperor pretty consistently in this deck. I don't know why, but he just adds a, what is it? When you can add a fire monster from your graveyard to your hand, but you cannot normal or special summon that monster or a monster with the same name for the rest of the turn, which, I mean, it's not bad if you're setting up plays for next turn. So yeah, and that is it for the Xyz monsters. Next up for the Synchros, we have 2 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Horse Prince. He has a, when he synchro summon effect, you can, or no, is it when he synchro or when he, yeah, when he synchro summoned, you can special summon a level 3 fire monster from your deck. And then after his summon, you cannot summon level 5 or higher, which is a bit of a dampening thing, or like it puts a damper on your parade. But if you can't really go too far in combos, but you can make him, he gets you Rooster or Ram, and both of those net you advantage whenever they're summoned by a Fire Fist monster, so he's not bad. And then for the fusion, like I said, we have, instead of 1 Swan, we have 2. Swan, whenever he is special summoned, you can deal 200 damage for each fire formation, spell, and trap card you control. And then during the battle phase, you can quick effect send a... during the battle phase, you can quick effect send 1 face-up fire formation, spell, or trap card you control to the graveyard, target a card your opponent controls, destroy it, and then it's a hard once per turn. But a quick effect targeted removal during the battle phase is pretty nice. So yeah, 2 copies of that. Next up, we have 3 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Eagle. 2 of these are proxies. I will admit that. 2 of them are proxies that my friend had, and I put the real eagle in there. I mean, these proxies look pretty nice though. They're full foil, but man, they look good. And then Eagle has the effect that once per turn you can return a fire formation, spell, or trap from your graveyard or your side of the field back to the hand. and then you can Foolish Burial a Fire Fist monster from the deck. And then he also has a continuous effect that basically turns off the need to send the Fire Fist and Fire Formation monsters for the cost of your Fire Fist effects, which is really nice because you can send Tiger King. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Tiger King has a floating effect. Let's rewind and go back to Tiger King right quick. Tiger King has a floating effect that whenever he leaves the field, you can send 3 fire formations from your field. 3 fire formation spell traps from your field to the graveyard to summon 2 level 4 or lower fire monsters with the same attack from your deck. There we go. God, that's a mouthful. But with Eagle on the board, if you get rid of your Tiger King, you don't have to pay the cost. You get 2 monsters for free for another XZ summon. That's ridiculous. And then next we have 2 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Peacock. She makes herself immune to being targeted for attacks while she points to a Fire Fist monster, and she can mind control a monster once per turn, obviously. Hard once per turn. But that monster cannot attack and other stuff. Yeah. And then the one card I actually haven't read is Firefighting Daruma Doll. Requires 2 Beast Warrior and or Winged Beast monsters. This card gains 100 attack for each Beast Warrior and Winged Beast monster on the field. And once per turn, you can target 1 spell/trap on each player's field, destroy them. And when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, target 1 of your Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monsters that is banished or in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So he recurs, he's spell trap removal, he's just good. So yeah, let me pause the video so I can give you guys the overview of the deck again, and we'll be right back. So anyways guys, that's been the deck profile. If you guys enjoyed, please be sure to hit that like button. If you do, subscribe. And now that you've made it to the end of the video, it's time to grab that little sneak peek at what I'm trying to do right quick. Let's go do that right fast. It's coming together quite nicely. Anyways guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.